What have we really learned after 3 preseason games for the Boston Celtics? Anything? Anything much? Anything obvious? No. Let's try to figure it out right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, Heat John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Here for you every Monday through Friday. Bonus podcasts when they play on Fridays and Saturdays. So sometimes, hey, maybe you're getting 7 podcasts a week. So make sure you're subscribed. The show is free and available everywhere podcasts exist, even on YouTube. So check it out. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you think. I'm John Karalis, former pro, once upon a time. Now I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is going to give you $200 in bonus bets. All you got to do if you're a new customer is bet $5 on anything. Make every moment more right now. You get that guaranteed bonus bets. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Today we're going to ask the question, what the hell have we learned? What have we learned? Have we learned anything? 3 preseason games, 3 games in 4 nights. These guys have barely played. Have we learned anything? And whoa, wrong button there on YouTube. Tom Westerholm,
what up?
Have we learned anything at all?
I actively avoid learning anything.
I mean, I know that for you personally, but
yeah.
I was hoping that you'd be a professional for once in your life.
Well, but listen, I would if this podcast was a little bigger. If this if it was a little higher on the charts, maybe I'd consider.
This is just a plucky little program, hoping to make it big someday.
Yeah,
you know.
When it does, you let me know when it does, and then I'll be a professional and come to your pod.
If it's ever ranked higher than Draymond Green's podcast, can you step it up?
Yeah. That's the bar that I'm willing to try to clear.
I'm being told in my ear that it's currently it's rated higher than Draymond Green's podcast on Apple.
All right. Let's talk about Kada then. I guess we absolutely have to.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let's start there.
Okay.
Because I want to get your opinion on a question that I posed last night. Because this preseason has been heavily role player, right? We joke like, oh, Nemayesh Kada, yeah, let's start with him, but actually him and all these other role players we have to figure out, like, where do they fit? We know what the rest of the guys are going to bring. So
yeah,
my question to you is, have we gotten a fair look at these guys? Because on one hand, we've gotten a long look at a lot of these guys. They've played more than the starters. They've played more than the top 6. On the other hand, if I'm O'Shea Brissett or Lamar Stevens, I'm sitting here going like, hey, you know what? I was brought in here to occupy space and play off of Tatum and Brown and White and Porzingis, and I have barely played with those guys. Like, I've barely played with those guys. I don't have the space that those guys create. I don't have the openings that those guys create. I have to sit here and play most of my time with, I'm not slighting Payton Pritchard. He's been awesome this preseason, but Payton Pritchard and Sam Hauser and these other guys where just opposing defenses aren't going to react to them the same way. So is getting all of this run versus not getting run with the way the situations that you were brought in to be part of, is this actually an opportunity to fairly assess these guys?
No, I don't think so. I also don't think it's fair to assess some of the guys who are getting tons of looks, right? Like Payton Pritchard is not going to, this is not the role that Payton Pritchard is going to play during the regular season. Like,
I'll give you a hot take on Payton Pritchard, but let's go ahead.
I hope it's that this is the role that he's going to continue to play. No, I mean, I think
it's not.
Like Payton Pritchard is not going to be like, getting, what did he get last night when we're recording this? He shot 15 shots in 23 minutes. Like that's Like, that's not going to happen during the regular season. Like, Sam Hauser is not, I mean, hey, he might get 9 cracks at a 3-pointer this season a couple times, honestly, just given, that he'll have a big role, and that might actually happen. But, like, big role for him, big role for Pritchard, big role for some of these guys. Like, I think kind of across the board, this, preseason, like you said, it is the time of the role player. It's not, we don't need to see what Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum look like with these guys. We know what they look like. They're the superstars. I mean, yes, it would be nice to see them with like Holiday and Porzingis, but I mean, like, those guys are clearly going to get rest. Svi Mykhailiuk is not going to, get the kind of, the kind of ball handling, big minutes that he's been getting. So no, I mean, I don't think you can take a ton, from what we've seen so far in that regard. I do think, like, okay, the team is getting a much closer look at them in training camp, and they're getting actual looks at, different combinations and stuff like that, during practices and that kind of thing. But for us, kind of assessing things from the outside, I mean, like, no. And it's not like, it's not like O'Shea Brissett is going to not make the team because he shot 0 for 5 yesterday. It's like trying to assess based on these little glimpses is very difficult, I feel like, especially because, to your point, none of these guys are playing the role that they're going to play when the regular season actually rolls around.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part here. And I've mentioned this before too. We don't get to see practices. The coaches do. We don't get to see these workouts. We don't get to see them in film rooms. We don't get to see the conversations that are being had. So it really is tip of the iceberg type of stuff. We don't know how deep the iceberg really goes, and they do. So it's hard to say, I make this assessment, this is going to be the rotation. We can feel pretty good about, just by how many times they've used these guys, how long they've used these guys. Payton Pritchard is going to get plenty of opportunity. Sam Hauser is going to get plenty of opportunity. Luke Cornett is going to get plenty of opportunity. These guys have all been in there early and often and in all of these games. So those types of I feel like I'm comfortable there. Then you look at Brissett, Stevens, Banton, you get into the bigs, Keita and Gabriel, those guys, Svi Mykhailiuk, that, like, those guys are making their cases. But again, Mykhailiuk, when he gets the opportunity to put up a bunch of shots, he's hitting them. Is he going to get that same opportunity being on the floor with Jaylen, Drew, and Al Horford? Is that how he's going to get the same looks? I don't know, maybe, but it's a question.
Or maybe they'll be easier looks, like,
maybe they will. And that's the thing. Like, what combination? We haven't been able to see combinations. Like, one thing I want to see is, who is he putting on the floor with Jayson Tatum? Who is he putting on the floor with Jaylen Brown? Are they running more Derek White with Jayson Tatum, and that would be the end of first quarter type of group? Are they putting Drew Holiday in with Jaylen Brown? Well, maybe if Holiday starts off the bench, maybe he's the first sub in for Tatum, and Brown plays in the entire first quarter like he normally has, and that's the group. We haven't gotten a sense of any of that stuff because those guys haven't played. And I don't know. I do have, so I'll give you my hot take on Pritchard. God, people are going to hate me. And an interesting, I think, kind of substitution pattern from this last game would made me wonder why Joe Mazzulla, why did he do that? We're going to talk about that next. First, today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel, who want to give you free money. That's right, free money at FanDuel. New customers, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. All you have to do is sign up at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You place a $5 bet, you get your $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's win or lose. Win or lose. You want to bet on football? Plenty of bets on football. People love betting on football. Basketball, regular season is coming back. People are betting on preseason. Hey, whatever. If you want to do it, do it. It's all right there at FanDuel. So the app is super easy to use. You can bet the spreads, player prop, props, over-unders, futures. Think about the over-unders on win totals. Who's going to surprise? Who's not going to surprise? Bet the over-unders there. Play the long game. You can do that, and you'll still get your $200 in bonus bets. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right there on the bottom of the screen. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Kick off the NFL season, tip off the NBA season. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL. Just ask you, if you're going to do it, please gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Head on over to Locked On NBA. Check us out over there Monday through Friday there as well, covering the league. I got the Wednesday show with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. It's a fun show. I like doing it, and I think you're going to like the way we cover the NBA. So subscribe wherever you found this podcast. All right, Tom. You want to do the lineup one first or the Payton Pritchard one first?
You teased the Pritchard one so much before the break. I think we gotta
right.
make the people hate you.
The hot take is that as awesome as Pritchard has been, he's only been awesome when it's been him and all the rest of the bench. It's not going to be the situation that he's in. He's not going to get the opportunities that he's getting in these lineups. And it's not to say that I expect him to be anything besides a good player off the bench. But what I am saying is, yeah, Pritchard with guys that are question marks to even make the team against other teams and I'll even say other teams' benches and some regular players, that's fine. Like it's not against the competition. So I'm not going to sit here and say he's playing against scrubs and it's not that he's playing against scrubs. It's that he's playing, apologies, with scrubs, and he gets to be the primary guy in all the usage and gets all the ball handling. And all I'm saying is, don't expect this maniacal Michael Jordan in a 6'1" frame to be out there and doing this during the regular season. That's my scorching hot. It's Friday the 13th. Let's hate me for this take.
If people hate you for that take, then they are going way over the top. Like Pritchard is honestly, I think the thing that I worry about a little bit with him is that, he's getting all these reps. He's getting all these on-ball reps. And don't get me wrong, like I think he will, have some chances to, bring the ball up the floor, all that kind of stuff. But when he's doing these like prime James Harden step back threes, when he's like, between the legs, step back, whatever, like that's just not going to happen during the regular season. Like what I would really feel better about if I'm watching Payton Pritchard and thinking like, oh, how does this project? Spot ups. Just spot up threes.
Yeah.
That's the kind of shot that he's actually going to get, because I just don't think he's going to be on the ball like this, the way that he's been in the preseason.
Not this level of usage, no.
And I understand that this is partly a product of the fact that the Celtics had the world's dumbest preseason schedule, like just the worst preseason schedule I've ever seen in my entire life. And I understand that that's a big part of this, right? And he's got to play a lot of reps, and the Celtics are kind of giving him these opportunities as a result of that. But like, yeah, no, to your point, this is not only is it's not a reflection of who he is as a basketball player or anything. It's just a reflection of the role that he's got. He's not going to be getting these minutes. Like he's just not that. And yeah, I hope he knocks down some spot up threes. I hope he gets some opportunities that way. But yeah, this isn't it.
This is no okay. You want to guess what his usage rate was against the Sixers this past game?
Is it above 30?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
I'll go 32.
Just above 30. It's 30.7.
Okay.
For comparison's sake, last year, Jayson Tatum's usage rate was 32.7 and Jaylen Brown's was 31.4. So the Payton Pritchard 30.7% usage rate is unsustainable in the regular season. Again, and it's not to say that he won't be good. I think he's going to be good. Like he should be. People are talking about, oh man, he's going to make 6th man of the year. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not going to say he won't. I'm not going to say he will either. I
will, because he's not going to be the Celtics 6th man. Like,
yeah, they already have a top 6. One of those guys
Right.
is going to come off the bench. But like
8th man of the year, maybe.
also, yes, he's also not going to get these kinds of touches. I'm just telling people who are going nuts about Payton Pritchard and having these big delusions of grandeur, just slow your roll a little bit. That's the one reaction that I have with Pritchard.
Yeah, and I think most people understand that. I mean, look, I think I'm sure Pritchard understands that. I'm sure this is fun for him to just kind of ball out, but it's not.
Yeah.
He knows the deal. Like this is. I think if you want to be encouraged by Pritchard, and I think there's every reason to be. Look at the extension he just signed, and look at how affordable he's going to be, and look at the fact that
Yeah.
the Celtics are going to need affordable production over the next few years very badly. They'd be able to, if he's good this year, then maybe, they can move him for, something, because valuable, like an affordable contract and valuable production paired together is going to be a very valuable trade chip. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to be encouraged, and I think most reasonable people probably don't think, okay, Payton Pritchard is going to go out there and score, 17 points a game. And if you're a reasonable person like that, then good. And if you think he is going to, then then those are the people who are going to actually be angry with you.
It's been a great week. People are just gonna be like, giving me the Debbie Downer in the comments. I'm just saying. I can't lie to people. And this brings me to the lineup thing, where the Celtics started the game against Philly with obviously Jaylen and Jayson weren't there. So Sam Hauser was out there with the rest of the top 6, Porzingis, Horford, Holiday, and Derek White. And then first sub off the bench, Delano Banton, which is interesting to me. And then they ran those 4 on the floor together. So it wasn't like we got a Drew and Al and 3 shooters type of situation. It was those 4 on the floor. They all came out at the same time. They all came in the second quarter at the same time. They finished the game. They didn't play in the second half. They all played 17 minutes in 4 seconds all together. And Delano Banton was on there, the first sub. Then in the second quarter, when they came in with Pritchard on the floor, and then Pritchard came off and Banton came back in. So preseason, you're experimenting with groups. Interesting to me that Banton was chosen to be part of that group. And Pritchard didn't go off until the second half, where he had free reign. And he didn't get much of the opportunity there in the first half. So I don't want to make too much of it, but Banton, after that Knicks game, and yeah, he got pulled in that third quarter, and Joe Mazzulla wanted to rip him a new one because he didn't dive for a loose ball or didn't get, okay, fine. He came back in later. He played okay. I think there might be something there turning to Banton against a team with some length on the floor. They weren't going against a small team. That Sixers team had some length, and I think they felt the need, like, we need a taller guy to defend here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, and I'm sure too, a little bit, they kind of, I'm sure they kind of had a sense of, okay, these guys aren't coming back in the second half. So if we want to see anybody with these guys, we better throw it out there in the first half as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Banton played really well against the Knicks. I wonder what he would look like with some of the regulars. Let's give him a shot. And I would suspect that probably had a little bit to do with it too. But no, I mean, look, he's super intriguing, right? There's definitely something there. There's definitely something with all the size and everything. I'm interested to see where that goes. But yeah, I think I'm hopeful that on Tuesday we'll get a closer look at some of these lineups with more of the actual guys, and like to your point earlier in the pod, Brissett, Stevens, maybe another look with Banton.
Yeah.
there's a lot of talent on this roster, and pairing that talent with the actual talent on the roster, with like the high level talent on the roster, interesting stuff. And we haven't really gotten to see it because, again, the NBA schedule makers saw fit to give the Celtics 3 preseason games in 4 nights. So, I think, that'll be something that I'm really hoping to see on Tuesday. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Tuesday is an important, it really is an important game for
It
at least
really
for
is.
us. Like this is our last chance. They're not going to play in the last preseason game, I don't think. So, but who knows? Maybe they play a little bit. There is a day off in between, but it's a home game against New York. New York will probably play their regulars. It's going to be a good competition. They're a decent team. So this is going to be, I think you can play all of these guys 30 plus minutes, 30 minutes. I think 30 minutes is a fair target. They played 25 in the first preseason game. You play the 30 and then you see what
ramp up a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of torn. Like, do you go with what you think your starting lineup is going to be? Like, is that third preseason or that fourth preseason game going to be like, hey, let's just get our starters out there. I want to see what our actual starters are going to look like together. Or do you get weird with it and say, we haven't had a chance to get some other combinations, so let's start O'Shea Brissett out there with, and then you sub in a second dose of combinations that you just want to get a look at those guys. I don't think that's how it's going to go. I think they're just going to start their regular starters. But the only reason I'm being like this is they haven't had an opportunity to get a look. Let's talk about the regulars and what we've seen from the regulars in just a second. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. A reminder, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you haven't subscribed by now, hop on board. Monday through Friday, daily podcasts, 30 minutes or so. They are post-game, every post-game. So if there's a post-game on a Friday or a Saturday, I will be there with a podcast. Get the show on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed there as well. All right. Tom, let's get into some of the regulars. And the regular that we want to talk about the most is Porzingis. I feel like I've said everything I need to say about Porzingis. I think it's obvious that this is probably the best situation that he's been in, and the level of talent around him is unlike anything else. Like, yeah, he played with Luka, but there was such a huge drop-off. Yeah, he played with Bradley Beal, but there was a huge drop-off after that. Like, who was third best in Washington? Was it Kuzma? Like, come on. Now you're playing with all of these guys, and your third or fourth best teammate might be Drew Holiday or Derek White. So there's a lot of talent and smarts over here. Just seeing limited, what have we seen? 30, 32, 33 minutes of Porzingis
ish. I'm
like, whatever I've said negative about him or the move or anything like that, it's like, erase it, because I'm very, very impressed with what I've seen so far.
I mean, when he just dotted that three, from like above the break, 5-6 feet behind the 3-point line.
28-footer, officially a 28-footer.
Okay, yeah. So at 7'3". I mean,
and then later he hit a 27-footer.
Right. Like there's so much there, and I think there's room for growth too, right? Like he doesn't look comfortable rolling quite yet. I don't think. I think that there's some room there to grow, and I think just to have that extra person, that extra look to throw it in, if you can throw it into the post, if you can, like do some of this stuff, like, the little bit that we've seen him even do, like off the bounce, like that in that first game, like, man, the offense is going to get a huge boost. And I think it's interesting to wonder a little bit, right? Like if the Drew Holiday trade hadn't happened, I wonder how much I feel like there would still be an element of like, yeah, I mean, the offense looks great, and we knew the offense was going to look great, but the perimeter defense, like, it's still a little bit of a question mark. But since the Holiday trade, it's just like, man, this went well for Brad Stevens. Like, pretty good move, Brad. So yeah, I mean, you can certainly see. I mean, and I don't think we've seen full strength Drew Holiday yet, but I think at this point you can really look at everything the Celtics sent out the door this summer and
Yeah.
everything that came in and be like, the vision is there. We'll see how it all comes together. We'll see how it all works out. We'll see how health, manifests itself throughout the year, all that kind of thing. But from where we stand right now, the vision is very, very clear.
It's very clear, and it's the depth. I say depth obviously is still the biggest issue, but the it might not be as bad. Like everybody around the team has been saying, yeah, you keep saying depth, John, but just wait, because the guys who are here are pretty good. But yeah, I see I see Holiday. I see Holiday defend. I see Holiday take that step back three. I see him get into the middle of the lane and score against bigs. And you're like, oh, yep, I get it. I see Porzingis setting screen after screen after screen after screen all over the floor, all different kinds of screens. And you're like, yeah, I mean, he has this ability to he does have the ability to roll. He is a lob threat, and he's obviously the threat to pop and hit these shots. It's kind of like, okay, it doesn't take long for you to be like, yep, okay, Brad Stevens, there's a reason why he gets paid a lot of money to run an NBA team, and I am just talking in my basement. That's basically where the difference lies. I gotta say, Al Horford looks good.
He looks
good,
youthful.
And there are still obvious concerns that 37. How long is this going to last? Everybody looks good in the preseason. You've had all this time to rest. How are you going to look in January? How are you going to look in March? But I still think that you don't play him more than 25 minutes a game. But I mean, what did they play him last year? Let's see, average 30.5.
Yeah.
So you play him a few minutes less, and you probably can play him a few minutes less with Porzingis there. Even if you do start double big, you can just go Porzingis as your only big, and you just minimize Horford's minutes. If you want to start Horford, I came in thinking start Horford on the bench, and I also want shooting on the floor at all times, and keeping him on the bench. I think you can do that, but also if they decide to start him, I'm not going to be like raising any red flags. I'm not going to be sitting here going like, oh, I don't know about this. He looks good. He looks ready to start an NBA game for a contending team, even at his age. I think he's playing at a little bit of a lighter weight. I think he understands that he doesn't have to bang as much. So I think he's a little bit lighter because he can play out on the perimeter. I saw him walking around with his shirt off. He is like at 6% body fat. He looks really, really good. He takes great care of himself.
Always has.
And that's part of it. He's been so professional about his, like, he understands your body is how you make your money, and he has taken care of himself throughout the course of his career. He's had knee problems before, but he looks a little bit lighter, and he looks good. And I think he understands that, hey, I'm a perimeter player now for the most part. And like, okay, so you have to go and bang against Joel Embiid a little bit. Okay. But every once in a while, that's okay.
Yeah.
So, I just have to mention that Al Horford looks good. And if Mazzulla decides to start double big and then change how he, subs and Holiday or White comes in off the bench, they're all going to play the same amount of minutes. And so you have options on how to close the game. I feel good. I feel really good about this top six, however it's going to be used.
It's bonkers to imagine Jrue Holiday coming off the bench.
I know.
Like, I mean, Malcolm Brogdon was a stretch last year, but you kind of were like, okay, like Brogdon's a good player, but like sixth man Malcolm Brogdon, what a luxury. But like, I can kind of see that. Jrue Holiday coming off the bench is like, that's wild to me. But I mean, maybe.
I like what they were talking about. I like what they were talking about in the game last night or Wednesday night, where they were saying, like, if you start double big, it's when your team is the biggest.
Right.
The other team is the biggest at the start of the game. And so you start double big, you play Horford 5-6 minutes, you protect the rim like crazy, you start the game. If you can start the game on a 12-5 run, if you can get out there and build yourself a double-digit lead early, halfway through the first quarter, you set this tone, and now Horford can come out, and now you have to deal with Holiday or White coming in, and you have these. You just have this different look that you can throw at a team that's already sort of reeling, right? And maybe they go, "Oh crap, we got to take this guy out," and you counter with it does open up possibilities, and because you can sub Horford out early and just let him sit the rest of the second quarter, get him in. You let the second quarter start and you get him in at the table at the 10-minute mark, and you let him kind of close out with a 7-8 minute stretch there. I think it's fine. You get him on the bike, you let him warm up, you let him kind of get ready. I think it works.
Yeah.
However they want to do it.
And if you break
both options work.
And if you break it down like that, I mean, you're looking at like 24-minute games for him. Like that's pretty good, man. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and you could even do like a start the second quarter, sit him at the first TV timeout, get him back in the next TV timeout to close the quarter, and have him do three kind of short stints.
Yeah. If you want to do that, I mean, that's a lot of kind of stopping and starting.
Sure.
I think if I might just do like a big chunk in the middle of the second quarter, then get him out and give him like, if you give him the last 2 minutes on the bench plus halftime and then have him come back in and like that's either way.
So
I mean, there's a million ways to do it, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I think preseason
good roster, man.
Good roster. I think the good guys are good.
Yes.
That's the assessment so far. I got to wrap up the show, but like Derek White, oh my God, man.
Man, he looks good.
Damn.
Honestly, I know you're trying to wrap up. The thing is, like, I see it with bringing Drew off the bench because I think you kind of like Derek White is a little bit of a rhythm player. I feel like I felt like last year it helped him when he was able to start. And I just feel like you got to capitalize on that. Like he's so good in his own little understated ways. And he starts like, starts kind of doing that thing with his, I don't know. He's got a very specific facial expression when he's playing well and feeling good. And you can just like, cause he doesn't like celebrate, but he just kind of gets this little, like, I don't know, like this very specific facial expression. And he's got it a lot in the preseason here. He looks great.
He looks great. I don't know how Tatum and Brown look. I don't know how they look.
I keep forgetting about those guys.
Yeah. Did you know that Tatum and Brown are still on this team?
Tatum's still on the Celtics. I mean, yeah.
It's hard to remember sometimes.
Yeah. More glimpses of Bigfoot on Twitter in the last 24 hours than we've gotten them.
Tatum in a uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see Andre Drummond out there doing something. All right. On that note, boom. Thanks, Tom. Man.
Appreciate you.
And I want to say thanks to all of you who watch, who listen, pop on the show, get into the shower, go walk the dogs, drive to work, whatever it is. I hope you're talking back to me on your car rides. I hope you're doing all that stuff and enjoying this podcast. And hopefully it makes you enjoy the Celtics just a little bit more. So if you're not subscribed, I'd love it if you subscribed right now. Hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, if you're one of my everydayers here with me Monday through Friday, I'd love it if you shared the podcast. I'd love it if you spread the word. Get on your socials. Let everybody know that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.